Hi gang. How's it going? Late night stream tonight. I'm just trying to hang it together and hold it all together, guys. Stop. Get off my back. I don't work for you. Just get off my back. That's what I'm saying. So, Bitcoin is kind of sideways tonight, so I thought we would do something different. I thought maybe we could, like, answer some screenwriting questions. What do you think about that? Watch, like, 0 screenwriting questions come in, now that I've said that. I'm just saying I'm open. Very open-minded. Let's pretend this is a dating app profile. I'm very open-minded, guys. I feel like you guys know what that means. Very open to screenwriting questions. I'm here to teach. I'm here to give the gift of my my knowledge. Meanwhile, while I'm waiting for some questions to roll in, well, first let me post this link in little Cryptopolis. Try to lure some willing victims to get in here. But meanwhile, post any questions you have about screenwriting or shitcoins into the chat. Hey, Mike Bloom. Sup, Mike Bloom. Let me just post this goddamn link in Cryptopolis and then we can get started. Do you have any shitcoin questions or screenwriting questions? I'm open to either one tonight. I mean, let's be honest, I'm always open to either one. That's how this thing works. I fuck with Carl Dreyer. Who the fuck is Carl Dreyer? Don't even know who that is. Who is Carl Dreyer? Sorry, I'm not ignoring you. Just trying to post this link in Cryptopolis. There's this guy in Cryptopolis who trolls me for, like, ignoring the, stream because I'm, like, posting links on my phone. So, like, I don't, I spent, like, a minute doing that. Who is Carl Dreyer, Mike? While you tell me that, I'll look at the Bitcoin chart. Oh. Yeah, I'm an investor in Bitcoin. I'm an investor in many, like, ICOs, pre-sales, shitcoins. Well, it's not a crapshoot if you know what you're doing. I mean, I wouldn't say that, like, I think I know what I'm doing. That's fair to say. It's a crapshoot if you just, like, literally roll the dice and, like, don't know what you do. I will say that, like, newbies, like, noobs, as we call them, oh, Carl Dreyer is a great Danish filmmaker. Okay, tell me more. I mean, it's possible that I've seen his films and I just didn't know his name. Tell me the name of some of his movies, or I'll look them up. Okay, he died in 1968. So, you're asking me about a Danish filmmaker who died in 1968. You're kind of trying to catch me out here, Mike Bloom 77. I don't necessarily day trade Bitcoin just because I also, I'm a screenwriter. That's my real job. I'm a screenwriter by trade. And so, I know how to day trade. Let's put it that way. Like, but like, I prefer to take longer positions, meaning like, I trade the weekly and the daily. So like, let's pull up the daily on Bitcoin right here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is the daily on Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been super sideways lately, so that's why I decided to take some screenwriting questions, because there's not really much going on right now. It's just not that interesting to talk about, honestly. So I just thought, like, oh, why don't I, like, answer some... Oh, he directed Ordet. Okay, let's see. let's see some of his famous movies. Yeah, Ordette, Vampire, The Passion of Joan of Arc. I mean, I've certainly heard of The Passion of Joan of Arc. Yeah, I've made a shitload of money on this. Honestly, like, I make more money doing this than I do on screenwriting. I make so much money doing this that, like, it frees up my artistic choices so that I don't have to worry as much about, you know, like, a lot of times screenwriters have to, like, kind of, like, take, like, crappy jobs that, like, they don't necessarily, like, love, but, like, that they take because, you know, because they need the money, frankly. But I make so much money doing this that it's I don't really have to do that anymore. Let's put it that way. So yeah, it's pretty significant. But I still consider screenwriting my job. It's my career. It's my profession. It's just that, like, now I can afford to turn down shit jobs, just like you said, because, you know, all professional screenwriters will tell you that, you know, there's always there's the old saying, like, you do one for me, one for them. That's what all filmmakers talk about, like, meaning, like, I do one project I care about, and then I do one for the system, like for Hollywood, for, you know, one horrible, you know, crappy movie that I hate, but I do it to sort of, like, keep myself in play. I do it to, like, you know, Mike, you seem to, you know, if you know this filmmaker that I've never heard of, that, like, you know, I've only heard of some of his movies, you seem to know what you're talking about. You've heard of the expression, like, one for me, one for them, right? So, I make so much money doing this, sort of, you know, this is sort of a side hustle for me, but I make so much money doing it, and I take it very seriously. Like, by now, I'm actually a pretty serious investor, and, you know, I have people I work with, and, like, it's pretty intense, and, oh, you're a filmmaker. Okay, fabulous. Well, I'm really happy to meet you then. What kinds of films do you make? Tell me everything. But, you know, ideally, like, I've even talked to some folks about the possibility of, like, you know, funding a production company, you know, with the money that we're making doing this. You know, like making so much money that, like, we'd be able to just, like, finance our own movies. Oh, you do shorts and music videos. Fabulous. So you're a director, essentially. Are you, like, do you write for yourself? Oh, you're writing a feature right now. Terrific. What's the genre? Yeah, I mean, it is amazing, and don't get me wrong, like, this is not easy. Like, I'm not trying to make it out like, oh, like, I've discovered the Holy Grail, and now everybody should be doing this. Like, I've been writing about distributed technology since my first movie. Like, my first movie was about WikiLeaks, so, like, you know, this isn't something that I just sort of, like, happened upon because I wanted to get rich quick. Like, I've been writing about this kind of technology for, like, years, you know? Like, I've had like a long-standing interest in this field, and my niche in Hollywood is writing about technology. So I'm definitely, like, focused on this. So, like, you know, having this side hustle in investing in crypto is, like, you know, is definitely sort of, like, still within the range of what I do in Hollywood. It's just a way to kind of, like, allow all of the research I do on my projects to kind of, like, benefit me financially for once, like, finally. Because, like, so often, like, you do so much free work in Hollywood, and it's like, like, so often it, like, bleeds you dry, and you're sort of like, oh my god, why am I doing this? And it's like, and so it's sort of been this wonderful thing where, like, finally, like, you know, like, learning so much about, you know, the subjects I write about, and, like, it's like, I don't know, it's like paying off, you know? it's pretty fabulous. But like I said, I mean, I'm not trying to make it seem like it's I mean, it's easy, you know. It is easy and it's not easy. Like, anybody can learn this. It's not like, you know, you don't have to be like a rocket scientist. But at the same time, like, most people lose money before they start making money. Like, I lost a ton of money to start with before I started making money. You know what I mean? So it's like, you have to like, you have to sort of know that going in, and they call that paying tuition. And also, we're in a pretty significant bear market right now. So that's actually what I was going to look at. So this is Bitcoin on the daily. Let's look at, actually, let's look at the Bollingers. See what's going on here. So anybody who joins us, like, I can answer screenwriting questions. I can answer, you know, if you have any, like, shitcoins you want me to chart, like, I can answer any crypto questions. But I just thought I would answer some screenwriting questions since, like, Bitcoin is so sideways right now. Yeah, you know, not everybody loses money, but especially when you're first starting, like, people tend to lose money right at the start. And, like, if I told you guys, like, you know, someday, like, when I write my memoir, which I'm always threatening, like, you know, I'll tell you guys, like, how much money I lost. Oh, yeah, I can definitely talk to you about story structure. I'd love to answer that. Oh, you want to chart Litecoin, Mighty Mike? Okay, we'll do that. Right, let me just finish looking at Bitcoin, and then we'll do Litecoin. But what's your question about story structure, Mike? So I think that we're going up from here on Bitcoin. Like I said, we're pretty solidly sideways, and the volume is like way down. Like, you can see it's like fallen off a cliff for like the past, almost like the past 2 weeks or so. But I say that, look at the 12-hour. I think we're going up from here on Bitcoin. And as to where we go, I think we're going to like 66.50 maybe. Yeah, I'm going to call 66.60 from here. That's a target from here. Okay, so that's my call on Bitcoin. Okay, how do I approach structure? Like, how do you figure out what the scenes are? Do you do it linearly, or kind of look at tons of possibilities? Mike, my process is like really, really unique, and I honestly wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy because it's really unusual, I would say. It causes me to be a rather like slow writer, honestly. I don't write linearly. I don't even write. I write both front to back and back to front at once. I don't outline. But I also have a very, very tight, cohesive structure because I'm always writing the entire movie all at once. So, like, I'm always, like, worried about the end and the beginning at once. Like, I almost write a movie the way a painter makes a painting. Like, I studied visual arts in college. And, like, there was this saying in painting where, like, you don't, like, make a hand in a painting. Like, if you're making a painting of a person, you don't make the hand perfect and then, like, have the face be, like, all fuzzy and diffuse. Like, you work up the painting all at once, you know, like, because if the hand on the painting is perfect and then, like, the face is just a circle, then, like, chances are, like, you're gonna have to completely change the hand, and then, like, the face is gonna go over here, and it's like you have to, like, bring the entire painting into focus all at once. So my movies are extremely cohesive and extremely organic because I bring them all into focus, like, all together. And every piece interacts with and reflects on every other piece. I care a ton about transitions between scenes. I do sort of loosely work with this sort of like 8-reel story structure. which I sort of learned way back, and I've used it for every movie I've done. And it's based kind of on the idea that yeah, I'm always looking at structure, and then I have one more thing to say about that. But in this 8 reel idea, it's the idea that in early cinema, when they were literally inventing the form of cinema, they they had these reels, which is like how long a reel of film would last before they had to replace the reel of film. And at the end of the reel, they would have like a cliffhanger. Like that was sort of like how long the audience's interest would last. Would be this sort of like what was it, like 8 or to 16-minute reel of film, and then like the reel would end, and the projectionist would literally have to change the reel of film until so there would be like some sort of like cliffhanger or like some kind of like beat or pop at the end of that reel. And so I still build in those reels into my movies to give it like an internal sense of structure. Even though like the only people that will see them are like my development executives, my producers, the actors, it's important to me that all of my collaborators understand like this isn't all just arbitrary. Like every word is important, it's planned, and it all has it like this needs to be here and this needs to be here, and it's structurally sound and it makes sense, and there's a reason why we probably shouldn't just like willy-nilly like move stuff around, because it's it makes sense this way, and it's not only does it make sense, but it's artistically beautiful this way. So that's one thing I want to say about it. The other thing I want to say about it is that there's also a working theory that structure doesn't matter as much as like all the like formula books and everything would have you believe, because really all that structure is just making sure that you've got 2 characters or more than 2 characters who have opposing desires, and you set them on their paths at the beginning, and as long as their desires are really, truly, totally opposed, that's structure. That's all structure is making sure those desires are opposed. And then, if you truly understand those characters and make sure that those desires are opposed to each other, and then let those characters do what they're going to do, that is what structure is. You don't need any more than that. That's all structure is. So you say, that's so amazing. So we're just making sure that something interesting happens at each of these reel changes. I mean, it's not so hacky as that. Like, I'm not treating it like a sitcom. Like, I write, like, big action thrillers, so, like, I do sort of roughly, I do mark it in the script, and I do sort of, I roughly, try to be like, oh, something happens at each of these, so-called reel changes. Obviously now, there's no more reel changes or anything like that, but it's just this way to kind of like keep track of like where we are in the movie, like how shifty the audience is getting, like where their attention is, like how bored they're getting, honestly, like, how much you've got them like locked in. It's also like a good places to put like big action sequences. Like I always know, like, the big, oh yeah, and that's the thing. Each sort of little reel is its own little story. Yeah, that's the thing. Like each reel is going to be its own story. So at the top of the reel, it's like you're introducing some kind of problem, and at the end of the reel, you sort of end it. And usually, the end of the reel will be like, the big action sequence or something. Because then they get out of it with some big climax or something, and then bam, you open the next reel with, and mind you, this is my particularly unique way of screenwriting. Unlike, I don't think a lot of other people screenwrite the way I do, but this is just something that I've developed sort of over the years, and it's just the way I do it. Like other people can do it however they want. Let me just finish looking at Bitcoin, and then I'll look at Litecoin for Mighty Mike. Yeah, so I'm gonna call 66 to possibly all the way to like 68 here, Mighty Mike. Oh, that's for Bitcoin. Right, the solution at the start of the problem then is the start of the next problem. Exactly. Yeah, I mean that's like classical dramatic storytelling. Exactly. I mean, how do you do it, Mike? I'm curious to hear how other people do it. Mike, did you want to see Litecoin USD or Litecoin Bitcoin? Like which pair are you more interested in? You've been outlining your movie for 2 years. Okay, well then you need to like write. Like you don't need to be outlining. I'm just gonna give you some tough love. Like that's enough. Like you don't need to keep outlining. Like that's enough. Because you know there's a danger, and I know this from having done this for years. There's a danger of like analysis paralysis, where you sort of feel like, oh well, if I can just get this perfect, then like it'll be perfect. You know what I mean? Like if I can get it perfect with the index cards, or hey duck-eyed, I'm answering screenwriting questions, and I'm also answering questions about crypto. I'm a professional screenwriter, and I also invest in crypto on the side. But what I've learned like over and over again is that like, and you know, you can do that with research, or you can do that with like over outlining. Like, I mean, I don't outline at all, frankly. Like, and I'm not saying I'm perfect. Like, I'm sure some people would rather me outline, you know. But it's just another way of like stopping yourself from facing pain. You know, I have a little thing that pops up on my phone that says "Move toward pain," and pain is writing. Like writing, like facing yourself on the blank page, like facing the fact that you suck every day, is painful. It's difficult. It's psychologically punishing. And that's what you're avoiding when you're sitting there like playing with your index cards for 2 years. Like you don't need to be doing that anymore. You need to like move toward pain, move toward what's hard, which is the actual writing. I think I'm obsessed with certain scenes, but not really understanding the characters. Well then, I would suggest that you sit there and you write down the main characters, and you write down what is each character's, you know, only the deep, you know, only like the most important characters, like the top 3 characters or top 4 characters. What is the character's deepest desire, and what are they afraid of? And figure out a way to make each person's deepest desire like feed into what they're afraid of, and vice versa, sort of like in sort of like a loop, like a self reflecting circle. And the more you do that, like the more, like the tighter those little like compounding circles get, the more compelling characters you'll have. And the next step after that is if each character's sort of like compounding circle of fear and desire can all relate to each other thematically, then you're going to have a spectacular movie. I mean, that's what I do. I'm just sharing like Julie's tips, sharing Julie's tricks of the trade. Okay, let's look at this Litecoin chart. I bet Mighty Mike is gone by now. Mighty Mike, just check in if you're still here, because I'm finally looking at this Litecoin chart for you, but I bet you're like gone by now. Oh, you're still here. Okay, no, let's look at Litecoin for you. Let's see. Did you want to look at Litecoin USD, or do you want to look at it against Bitcoin? Which one would you prefer? Can you give an example of a character whose desire is feeding their fear? Oh, you want to look at it at Bitcoin? Okay, let's look at his chart first, and then Okay, so I'll give you some examples of those in just a second. Wonder why this looks so weird. Are you, Mighty Mike, are you invested in this already? Are you holding this, or are you thinking about getting into this? Yeah, just hang on a second, Mike Bloom, and I'll actually read you some examples from the piece I'm working on right now. So, oh, you're invested in Litecoin right now. Okay. So you have $100 in Litecoin and $100 in Bitcoin. Is that right, Mighty Mike? So I will share with you that I don't love Litecoin as a coin. I would rather see you put the Litecoin money into like ETH, or like something else that I'll recommend like in just a little bit. I mean, this Litecoin chart doesn't look great. Hang on a second. Let me just sort of like get my bearings on this. I actually haven't looked at Litecoin in a long time. Yeah, it doesn't look great here. There's so many other coins that you could be in that are better than Litecoin. I would say, like, unless there's a good reason for you to hold this, like, you know. Yeah, I don't like Litecoin for you here. Not financial advice, don't sue me. Okay, let me pull up this file and read these character descriptions to Mike Bloom, and then I'll show you some other possibilities that you could get into. So Noop says the fact that he's asking said he's new, testing the water. I don't think he should be in the market at all. But you know what? It's only $200. Like, I think that, like, you know, obviously the amount of money for everybody is different. But to me, like, testing with like $100 in one and $100 in the other, like, that's actually appropriate to me. You know, like, I don't think somebody should start with like thousands. I think they should start with exactly what he's doing. That, like, he's starting small. He's starting with like $100 in one, $100 in another, and now he's just sort of like experimenting and sort of seeing like how it's going. I actually think that that's a very appropriate way to start. Noop is saying true, but if he wins, maybe he gets a rush or has a gambling problem. He has no foundation. Well, you know, we can't. Let's just give him the benefit of the doubt, you know? Okay, let me find these character descriptions. Okay, so this is a little rough, like, but I feel like you'll get the idea, Mike Bloom. So for this one female character, I say her greatest fear is to be invisible, to disappear without ever being seen, to be seen via security holes, and then bolded, to be seen instead of just functioning via her code, invisible, to be seen via security holes. And then greatest desire, to be seen, to matter as a human being. So essentially, her greatest fear is the same as her greatest desire. Does that make sense? And tell me if you want me to read that again, because I know that, like, I just said a lot of words that probably, like, don't make a lot of sense. So then for, like, she's the hero of the movie, but then for her, like, for the guy that's sort of her, like, you know, romantic lead or whatever, his greatest fear, the terror of real intimacy, the terror of being seen intimately by another. Yeah, exactly. Like, she's sort of like a security expert. So, like, you know, she has, like, all this, like, elaborate security, you know, stuff and everything. But so her greatest fear is to, like, be seen, but also her greatest desire is to be seen, essentially. So then her, like, romantic lead, his greatest fear is the terror of real intimacy, the terror of being seen intimately by another human being. His greatest desire is to love and be loved, to show up fully for another human being, to see and to be seen by another. So again, like, the greatest fear and the greatest desire are like two halves of the same coin. Not to bring it back to crypto or anything. And then the villain of the story, his greatest fear is to have to interact with the messiness of being human, to have to admit to being human, to be forced to be human, aka not an invulnerable billionaire, to die, to be seen. His greatest desire is to live forever, to become superhuman, a supercomputer, seeing and knowing everything, untouchable and unhurtable, to be powerful and remain unseen. So do you see how, like, all of them are, like, essentially, like, variations of the same exact thing? And so they're three separate characters with both fears and desires, but they're all sort of like variations of the same theme. And so that's how theme works, and that's how theme works inside developed characters. I'm not saying that, like, I'm the greatest screenwriter on earth. I'll let you say that. No, I'm just kidding. Hi, Jake Crypt. So I'm answering questions about screenwriting, and I'm also answering questions about crypto. So either one, like, I'll charge shitcoins for you, or so I'm about to try to show Mighty Mike, like, some possibilities of some coins that he can get into, and then develop a gambling problem, which our friend Noop here is worried about. Honestly, Noop, like, probably half the people in crypto have gambling problems. So, like, you know, like, I know it's a legitimate concern, but, like, you know, honestly, like, if we started, like, eliminating everybody who has gambling problems in crypto, then, like, you know, we'd lose, like, half the people to dump on. Oh, can I please say what the male character's fear and desire is? Yes. So the male character's fear, his greatest fear is the terror of real intimacy, the terror of bolded being seen intimately by another human being. His greatest desire is to love and be loved, to show up fully for another human being, to see and to be seen by another. Okay, so back to this chart. So this is power, and I think that this is like, well, we might have missed this one. It looks like it's kind of going. Maybe we haven't missed it. Let's see. And anybody who's watching this, feel free to like comment. Oh, hi, Breer's lead. I'm answering questions about screenwriting and crypto. So he wants to be seen in a certain way, but not to be fully vulnerable with someone. Yeah, like, if you were to know the story, it would make more sense to you. But, like, basically the two characters, like, have a past together, and, like, so it's like he wants to be able to show up for her, but like he's terrified at the same time. That's essentially, so it's like he wants to be seen by her in an intimate way, but then also he's terrified of being seen by her in an intimate way. I think that's what I meant by that. So there's this constant like tension, you know, where like, you know, I have sort of a theory. I didn't make this up, but like fears or secret desires. So like when somebody is like terrified of something, or you know, they're like avoiding something at all costs, that's something that they deeply want, essentially. Um, that's kind of how like kink works, like in sex, or like, you know, something that somebody's like obsessed with or like obsessively afraid of. Like that's to be honest, I've heard this sort of process before, but it's interesting how specific you get with these. Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm a very, very detailed and thorough screenwriter, which is probably why it kind of takes me a while. You know, I always hear about these screenwriters who were like, oh yeah, like it seemed like a lot of bros are like, yeah, I wrote that script in 10 days, and you know, and they shit it out and like send it off to like whoever, and you know, it gets sold for like $1 million, and like that's not me. That's not the kind of screenwriter I am. Like I'm very thorough, very detailed, very researched in my process, very process oriented, honestly. Let me take a look at this, see if this is good to recommend to Mighty Mike. Yeah, I do very nuanced characters. Hmm. It usually takes me a year to write a script. But it depends on the subject matter. It also depends on the project. It like really depends on a lot of things. Like I could probably do it in less, but like um, it you know, like if I'm adapting something and they give me like strong material to start with, then like it would probably take me less time because I would just be able to like take the material I'm starting with. But I've actually like I've worked on adaptations before, and yet like I've never been given like material to adapt, if that makes sense. You know, like you know, the adaptations I've worked on, like they've always been like, okay, we want you to start from like scratch and just like make it up. But I'm like, fuck off. It's always like I never get the easy projects. Like I get the like hardest projects. Mind divulging my daily process. Um, I mean, I don't think you would want to copy my daily process. Like, I mean, I make coffee in the morning. Um, I I try to get to work as soon as possible, like after I wake up in the morning. But usually, there's always sort of like a period of kind of just wasting time in the morning of like, you know, like paying bills or like just really just wasting time, like doing crypto stuff, you know, usually, or like there's always a couple hours in the morning of just kind of wasting time. You know, it kind of helps to kind of smooth out my anxiety because for me, writing is a tremendously anxiety producing process. So I just have to kind of like get over that intense anxiety every day, every day. You know, it never goes away. Um, and then gradually, I like let my mind sort of settle into work. It takes a long time though. It like it's a pretty intense process, honestly. Um, I usually watch something while I write. So like I have a MacBook Air, and I usually like have something on the left side of my screen, just like watching something, and I have my screen player on the right side. Because if it's just like silence, then like it's way too much being like alone with my childhood. Can't do that. Um, So I thought that this one might be good for you, Mighty Mike, but like I don't know, like we might have missed this one already, or this power. I can't really tell, honestly. What am I watching? I watch a ton of different stuff. I sometimes watch movies, I watch TV, I watch Twitch streams. Like I watch everything. I mean, YouTube sometimes. Like I'm like, you know, and I don't necessarily watch quality either. Like you would think that like, oh, she must watch like the most highbrow stuff because I write pretty highbrow stuff, but like I find that like the more sort of like highbrow the thing is that I'm watching, the more it's sort of like that's not necessarily good for like to be working on something that's like really kind of intellectually demanding and then to be watching something that's intellectually demanding. Like I actually find that watching something really trashy kind of helps, like reality shows or like something that I actually find that juxtaposition helps. No, I have it just playing while I write. Like I just because here's the thing, like I find that I need to almost like fall asleep a little bit to write. Like I need to kind of like I overthink too much and I need to kind of just like relax, like get to the point where I almost sort of like stop thinking so much to get to the like almost this like theta brain state to actually be able to write. And so if I just have some like stupid reality show playing, like Vanderpump Rules or like, something like that or Twitch stream or something like that, like um it helps me to like just do I have work online to review? Well, I've got blog posts on Medium. I've got a blog, like, um, I have TV credits. I don't have any movie credits because none of my movies have been produced, but. So let's look at IOTA because I think that, like, I think power will still go up from here, but like, since Mighty Mike seems nervous, I hate to recommend something that I'm not positive about. Let's look at IOTA. But actually, you should try ETH, Mighty Mike. Like since you aren't holding any ETH, like Litecoin truly is a shitcoin, and I don't like to see you holding a shitcoin. Like ETH, like even if it goes down a little bit, like let's look at ETH after IOTA actually. So this would be better than this actually would be a better play. I like this one. Where can I find regarding Bitcoin? Well, I'm talking about Bitcoin right now. I mean, we actually just looked at the Bitcoin chart, but what question do you have about Bitcoin? Like, do you want to know about like where the price is going? Like, I think the price will go to like 66.50, possibly 68, pretty soon. Julie, one last question. How do you handle genre? How does genre enter your process? I don't really think about genre at all. I mean, um, if I'm hired to do a certain movie, then like I'll like adhere to the like constraints of like the kind of movie that like the people who are hiring me to do. But other than that, I don't think about it that much. I just you know I think about like the way that I want the movie to feel and just sort of the tone, but I don't really think about like genre so much. I just think about like what I'm trying to say with this story, how I want it to feel, like theme. I think about theme a ton. I don't think about genre that much. Do you think about genre? This IOTA looks good to me. This is one you could try, Mighty Mike, is IOTA. But really, I think that you should try ETH since you're not in ETH at all. Like if you're brand new to this and you're just sort of trying out crypto, I'd say like, trying ETH and Bitcoin would probably be your first best two options. Let's see ETH, Bitcoin. Hey, your man. Well, thank you so much for coming and asking me questions, Mike Bloom, because you've been really lovely and like I was actually afraid that like nobody would show up and ask me screenwriting questions. So like you were really nice to like indulge me and like ask me some screenwriting questions. So like I hope that you'll stop by anytime. And even if I don't put it in the headline of my thing, please know that like I'm available to answer screenwriting questions really anytime. So you know, because a lot of times I have my stream is dedicated to just talking about crypto because I feel like I don't know. I feel like people get bored like hearing me talk about screenwriting or something, or like I don't know. I feel like they just I what it honestly is I feel self-conscious talking about it. But tonight I just felt like you know Bitcoin is so sideways that I was like, well, let's talk about screenwriting tonight. So thank you so much, and come back anytime. Let's talk screenwriting, and I want to hear about more about what you're doing too. Your man, I'm answering questions about screenwriting, and I'm also answering questions about crypto. So either one that you want to talk about, let's talk. You know, if you want me to chart a shitcoin, I can do that. So I think ETH Bitcoin goes up here on the daily. Good night, Mike Bloom. Thanks for coming here. So all business, no play, huh? Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know what kind of play you're looking for, but I would bet that, like, whatever play you're looking for, you'd probably be pretty bored with me. Yeah, I think ETH is going up here on the daily. So this would be a good place, Mighty Mike, for you to sell your Litecoin and enter into an ETH long here. Let's look at Litecoin ETH. How do I sell a coin? Okay, so you're really new to this. Where did you buy your coins when you bought? Oh, on the Coinbase app. So I'm not that familiar with the Coinbase app, but Privet, I live in Poland. We don't have any war here. I have warm water and other elementary stuff. Marry me. No thanks. Thanks for the offer. So you bought on the Coinbase app. So why don't you log into either Coinbase or Coinbase Pro on like on a regular computer? I mean, I assume you have access to like you know, like a computer that's not like an app. But use your same account and log into like Coinbase Pro. And on Coinbase Pro, you'll be able to like pull your wallet from regular Coinbase. And there you can start like learning how to trade. And it's so easy that like I don't even have to like talk you through it. Like it's pretty intuitive. But basically, I don't know if there's like an LTC ETH pair there, but there probably is actually. But just sell your Litecoin for ETH. Your Bitcoin, I think you should hold on to, and your Litecoin, I think you should sell for ETH on Coinbase Pro. Does that make sense to you? And just do it on like a regular computer. Just, you know, on Google, type in Coinbase Pro, enter your credentials from the Coinbase app, your like site credentials, and then that'll be your first trade. Then you're gonna be a real trader. Okay, perfect. That sounds like a good plan, Mighty Mike. Great. So why don't you do that, and then like why don't you report back in like once you've done that, and let us know how that goes. How about that? Okay. If nobody has any more questions, I think this is a good place to end the stream. So I want to get to bed kind of early. So thank you guys for watching, and hope to see you again tomorrow night. Can someone trade futures of Bitcoin? Yeah, you absolutely can. You can trade futures on BitMEX. You can go to my my ref link on my Twitch page, which is, you know, you're on Periscope right now, but like if you hit up my Twitch page, my BitMEX link is down below my face, and you can get 10% off of all your fees on BitMEX for the next 6 months if you use my ref link. So that's one place you can trade futures on Bitcoin. Another place you can trade futures is like the CBOE or the CME, but you need like a pretty big account there. So I'm guessing that if you're asking the question, can someone trade futures on Bitcoin, you probably don't have like a big size account to be able to like, you know, trade like that large of a position. So BitMEX would be the place for you to trade futures. There's also other places to trade futures, but BitMEX is the place that I recommend. And like I said, you can use my ref link on my Twitch page, which is down below, or you can find it at twitch.tv/Julie_Bush. Okay, I think that's it for tonight. Thank you guys so much for watching. Love you all, and I'll see you tomorrow night. Bye.